Look at our closest relatives. A chimpanzee hits its physical peak in its 20s. After that, its strength fades and the animal dies shortly after. Humans do something entirely different. We lose our physical speed in our 30s. Our raw strength drops off in our 40s. But instead of dying, we routinely keep going for another 30 or 40 years. In the natural world, this makes very little sense. Evolution operates on a strict daily calorie budget. It doesn't pay for decades of life after an animal's body peaks, because there is no biological reason to keep fueling a body past its physical prime. Human old age is an evolutionary paradox. For millions of years, our bodies intentionally sustained a massive calorie deficit for decades. To justify that cost, those later years had to be producing a hidden, highly valuable return on investment. For almost the entire 300,000-year history of our species, living past the age of 30 was extremely rare. Surviving childhood was hard enough, and getting old was entirely a matter of luck. Anthropologists track lifespans through fossilized dental wear. Teeth wear down over time, like tire tread. By comparing a pristine 20-year-old tooth against a worn 60-year-old tooth, researchers accurately separate burial site populations into young and old. This timeline maps those populations across human history. Notice the flat line for hundreds of thousands of years. Then, exactly 30,000 years ago, the metric spikes. Suddenly, the elderly population multiplies, and grandparents become a common, normal feature in the fossil record. At that exact same moment, human culture explodes. The sudden appearance of sewing needles, elaborate cave art, and complex tools. The brains hadn't changed, the bodies hadn't changed, but natural selection began paying the calorie cost for those biologically expensive older bodies, because a new, invisible commodity was yielding a massive return. We can break that return into two parts. The first is immediate economic value. Anthropologists studying the Hadza people found that older women spent grueling hours in the sun, driving sharpened sticks into rock-hard ground to extract deep tubers. They weren't eating this food themselves, they were handing it directly to their grandchildren. This specific labor changes the math of human reproduction. Without a grandmother, a mother has to forage for her newborn, stretching the gap between births to about 5 years. With a grandmother absorbing the calorie deficit, mothers can shrink that gap to 2 years, rapidly accelerating human population growth. This graph tracks calories produced versus consumed across age groups, testing if older men were a burden. The data shows the opposite. Men actually peak as net producers in their 50s and 60s, generating a massive surplus because tracking difficult food requires decades of experience. Far from being dead weight, human grandparents acted as the economic engine, subsidizing the survival and expansion of the entire tribe. But food is only half the equation. Elders carried a second, far more vital asset: information about rare environmental catastrophes, the kind of events that happen decades apart. Every foraging group eventually faces a generational drought or crisis, boiling survival down to a single question: when do you move? Only an elder has a deep enough memory of past bad years to compare with the present and accurately answer that question. We know exactly what it costs to lose this biological hard drive. In the 1820s, a disease swept through an isolated group of Inuit in northern Greenland, disproportionately killing the oldest members of the community. The survivors completely forgot how to build a kayak. They forgot the specialized fish spear and the heat-trapping design of their snow houses. Because the only people holding the blueprints died, the community lived a hungrier, poorer life and failed to reinvent a single item for 40 years. Before the invention of writing, a human tribe losing its grandparents suffered the catastrophic deletion of their only survival database. Taking care of the elderly is heavily ingrained in our behavior, going back much further than modern cultural norms. It operates as a primitive, hardwired survival tactic. Archaeologists excavating Shanidar Cave in Iraq discovered the fossilized remains of a Neanderthal man that prove ancient tribes actively preserved heavily damaged bodies. This man had a crushing injury to his face that likely left him blind in one eye. His right arm was withered, and his leg was severely damaged. Yet the bone showed years of slow healing, proving he was fed and protected long after he lost the ability to hunt or run. We can see this even further back. A 1.8 million-year-old skull found in Georgia belonged to an early human who had lost almost every single tooth long before death. Without cooking pots or soft food, someone else in the group had to manually chew and soften their meals for years. Ancient groups invested immense daily labor into crippled and toothless elders because extracting their stored cognitive data was the only way the rest of the group survived. That instinct to protect knowledge created an evolutionary feedback loop that locked into place 30,000 years ago when lifespans first began to stretch. This flowchart models the acceleration. Older humans teach complex survival skills, which creates better technology, which in turn ensures even more humans live to old age to become teachers. This specific biological engine of overlapping generations provided the exact foundation upon which agriculture, the invention of writing, and modern technology were built. Every person watching this is the direct output of a 300,000-year unbroken chain of tribes who correctly calculated the immense return on investment of keeping their elders alive long enough to pass the data forward.